Hey everyone, welcome back to another sports betting video here on Mcubed. As always, I'm your host Schmook, and in this video we're going to go over some baseball playoffs. It's starting today. I'm looking forward to it. To the first game, it's obviously one of the biggest rivalries in the history of the MLB. We have the Yankees versus the Red Sox, okay? Now, this is an interesting matchup because I think either team could easily win. If you're going to give the edge to anyone, if I personally am, I'm going to pick the Yankees tonight. But, I mean, okay, so, yeah, the Yankees have big names. Of course, they have Garrett who's going to be pitching in this game, who's a monster, but he hasn't been elite recently, I would say. But, of course, you have the bats of Stanton, who's been a monster, Judge, who's been a monster. DJ LeMahieu he's had a little bit of a weak season, but we all know what he's capable of, right? And, of course, they go out and acquire Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo, which are other solid bats. So it's tough. Because on the Red Sox side, you have some great young studs with Rafael Devers. You have Xander Bogaerts. And then, of course, Alex Verdugo, who they got from the Dodgers in the Mcubed trade, who's been kind of solid. He's been pretty solid this year. But you also have Nathan Eovaldi pitching tonight. Okay, now he's had a hit or miss year. Like some games he looks lights out. Like he looks insane some nights, but then I don't know. Some days he just blows it. So I just don't know if they're the right team to pick in this circumstance. If you get the prime Eovaldi, I think Red Sox win it because they also acquired Kyle Schwarber from the Braves, right? No, the Nationals. They acquired him from the Nationals, who with the Nationals was absolutely destroying earlier this year until he got hurt. Then he gets traded at the trade deadline to the Red Sox, and he's been solid. He's been playing first base. And he's a good guy to have on your team for a playoff situation. So you could see a big game from him. Now I just don't know. Ultimately, if you want to be safe, I'd say just bet on the Yankees. I'd say bet on Garrett probably getting the over on the strikeouts. But again, the Red Sox aren't a team to mess with. They clinched it on Sunday with a great home run by it was Rafael Devers who hit basically a walk-off top of the ninth to help the Red Sox clinch. So I think the Red Sox are a pretty hot team, but again, you are playing in New York because the Yankees are the higher wild card, and I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to think about this game. It's a close one for sure. But I say if you want to be safe, just bet on the Yankees. I'd say Stanton should probably go yard, possibly Judge as well, and if you're lucky, Joey Gallo and Rizzo. But that's what they're, but the Yankees are such a high strikeout team. They're either the long ball or they're not doing shit, And with Eovaldi, I could see them definitely going yard tonight, and that could be a difference maker. But of course, Garrett has not been that elite guy as of late. He's been good. I'm not going to say Garrett hasn't been good, but, he's not that lights out guy, But yeah, I'd ultimately just say pick the Yankees. The Yankees should be solid. Again, but if you want to try to maybe win some more money, well, of course, when it comes to sports betting, especially if you have a sports book, you're probably going to want to hold out a bit and see how it goes. Because let's say the Yankees get at least a 1-run lead, the Red Sox, their odds are going to probably skyrocket, right? So you might just want to hold out a little bit, see how Eovaldi's looking, see how Garrett Cole's looking, and of course, when it gets later into the innings, whenever they take a guy out, they're probably going to put in another starter, right? So you could see Chris Sale go up against a Jordan Montgomery later in this game, and if that's the case, I would definitely say Chris Sale could probably hold the Yankees, and the Red Sox could possibly do some work against Jordan Montgomery. So we'll see. Again, it's a close matchup, but again, I'd say Yankees should win this game, but don't be surprised if the Red Sox win it. I would put some money on them as well. All right, on to the game. So on to tomorrow's game. So Wednesday, October 6th, we have the St. Louis Cardinals versus the LA Dodgers. All right, now that's another huge MLB rivalry. We're getting crazy good wild card games this year. Two matchups that include some of the biggest rivalries in the game and are just some of the most iconic franchises ever. Honestly, these are probably the four biggest franchises, right? Again, you have the Yankees, who are the most winning team in baseball history, against the Red Sox, and then you have the Dodgers, who have always been good. They had a big World Series drought for a while, but they won it last year. So they're probably the favorites to go all the way, right? But the Cardinals, they're the second most winningest team in MLB history, right, with 11 championships. And they're also the team that usually can take down the Dodgers, right? And they're also one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. They're also my hometown team. So of course I'm rooting for the Cardinals, and I'm gonna be putting some money on the Cardinals because one, they're hot. They're like the hottest team in baseball. The Dodgers are dealing with some injuries. They're going to throw Max Scherzer out there tonight, who's probably the Cy Young winner this year for the NL. But then the Cardinals are going to throw out Waino. So we got some Adam Wainwright versus Max Scherzer action. It's going to be a lot like a Roy Halladay versus Chris Carpenter type situation in my eyes. I think it could be a pretty good pitching duel for a while, because I think Max Scherzer is they're going to make the Cardinals sit down quite a bit. Like, I don't think we're going to be that great offensively, but the Dodgers aren't that good against Adam Wainwright. So it could be a stellar pitching duel tomorrow. But if I'm going to be picking a team, of course I'm picking my Cardinals. The safe bet probably is the Dodgers. Like, their offense is absolutely stacked. Like, when you have Trey Turner, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, like, it's hard. It's hard to bet against them. And Will Smith, who I think is the best offensive him and Salvador Perez, I think, are possibly the two best, like, catchers, like, hitting-wise now. Like, JT Realmuto is still good, but I think those are the two best. And Will Smith's young, and he kills it out there. But of course, like, the Cardinals, like, they have some hot guys right now. Like, of course, Goldie, he's been an MVP in the second half of the season. Nolan Arenado's, obviously, you want his defensive abilities out there, and of course, he's a good bat. Tommy Edman's a good guy to hit leadoff, who can usually get on base, get some stolen bases for you. I think he leads the NL in doubles. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he does. And then you got Tyler O'Neill, who's been an absolute monster. If he didn't get hurt there for quite a bit earlier in the season, he'd possibly be he'd be high up there for the MVP odds, in my opinion. Dude, even these past few weeks when the Cardinals went on their crazy run of 17 wins straight, which is a Cardinals record now. Like, dude, he had like at least 6 home runs in that span, or maybe more. Crazy, right? Like, and this is the first season the Cardinals have had 3 over 30 home run players, and that's nuts to me, right? Like, we haven't had that since Scott Rowland, Albert Pujols, and Jim Edmonds. And this team's a lot like that 2011 team, or like the 2011 team, you know, like they had the exact same record, and they're in that wild card spot. And so I think the Cardinals are the team to bet on, man. If they're the team that could just go all the way and win this thing, or they can just lose in this wild card and whatever. But we made it to the playoffs, you know. Especially when early September or late August, we had like a 1% chance to make playoffs, and then we just go on that crazy tear, and now we're in the wild card game, which is crazy. Beating out teams like the Phillies and the Reds, who have been pretty good this whole year. But again, pretty sure Adam Wainwright has a pitching line of over 4.5 strikeouts. I would probably take that. I think that's very doable. Max Scherzer has an over 7.5, and I would maybe take that. But I don't know. The Cardinals have just been hot. But Max, we are not good against Max Scherzer at all. All right. So it's a tough one. But again, I'd say the safe bet is the Dodgers. But I mean, the Cardinals have like a money line of like plus 180, something like that. I'd say put some money on that, because they could easily win this game. And they usually just go to town on the Dodgers. So I just don't be shocked if they win it. And if they win it, I think they'll go on to do some great things. All right, so now we're going to go to the first actual series for the NLDS. We're going to have the Braves versus the Brewers, okay? Now the Brewers, again, of course, it's a 5-game series, the NLDS. And it's basically first team to win 3, right? So when you look at both teams, so the Brewers, they have a solid they have 3 solid pitchers just to go up against the first 3 games, right? Because you have Brandon Woodruff, and then you have Freddie Peralta, and then of course you have Corbin Burns, right? All those guys are great. Corbin Burns is going to be probably get the second most votes for Cy Young, I would say. I think Max probably edges him out, but it's going to be close. But the Braves have a killer offense. Even without Ronald Acuna Jr. If Ronald Acuna Jr. was on this team right now, instead of being hurt, I think I would easily pick the Braves. But again, you still have Ozzie Albies, you still have Austin Riley, who's been an absolute stud this year, and then you have, of course, Freddie Freeman, right? And their pitching wise, they are going to be pretty solid, I would say. Max Fried's been good, and Charlie Morton's actually been stellar. But then once you get to the third guy, I can't even tell you who would pitch third in the rotation. Yeah, I don't think I can tell you who it would be, but here's what I'll say. I think the Braves have the offense that could take on that 3-headed dragon of a pitching rotation in Milwaukee, right? But I don't think the Brewers have that have the hitting capability to beat the Braves, in my opinion. I think even though they have great pitching and honestly a top tier like defense, like all the guys on their team are great defensively. Like, of course, you have Lorenzo Cain, you have Jackie Bradley Jr., Colton Wong, who I think is the best defensive second baseman in the league. But again, like offensively, like unless Christian Yelich just becomes a monster, which he hasn't been at all this year, like they're not going to put that much on the board. But they'll be able to hold the Braves quite a bit. But overall, I think the Braves are going to be able to put up more, even against that pitching, and Max Fried and Charlie Moore, and I think they'll win those 2 games, honestly. So it'll probably come down to, because of course those 2 guys are going to go up against Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff. But Brandon Woodruff has he's fallen off a little bit. Like he'll go out there and probably have a pretty decent outing. But the Braves are a good team. Like, Braves have been solid this year. Like, of course, they still won their division against, like, in a division that has the Mets, Phillies, and the Nationals, which is crazy. And like the Nationals, like they traded so much where they're still able to win some games. And then Philly, like I love me some Bryce Harper. I kind of wish they were able to make playoffs and like win that division. But the Braves, like they're well deserving of winning their division, and honestly, I think they'll make it to the NLCS. All right. Now in the AL, we're gonna have the White Sox versus the Astros. Okay. Now that's an interesting matchup. Now, I think the White Sox have the much better pitching rotation because, of course, you have Lance Lynn, who I think they'd throw out their first game. Then you have Lucas Giolito, you have Carlos Rodon, and Dylan Cease. I think that's a solid 4. Like, and the Astros, they don't really have that, in my opinion. I think Lance McCullers is good if Justin Verlander is able to actually pitch a game. I know he's been pitching the bullpen recently. Who knows how he's doing, like as a starter. He's getting old. He's gone through so many different injuries recently, which is sad because he's been a monster. But then you also have Framber Valdez, who I think is who's good. And then you have some other guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he's been solid too. But I think against the White Sox pitching rotation, I don't even think it's close. And then even that bullpen with the White Sox, like you have Craig Kimbrell and you have Liam Hendricks, and then you even have Michael Kopech, who could be a great starter on this team. Who they might pitch a game sometime, but he's also just a fantastic bullpen guy at the same time. He's got nasty stuff, nasty. So this game's going to come down to the offense, or this series will. And I think the White Sox, they edge out the Astros slightly. Like, of course, you have Michael Brantley, who I think's a stud. I think they should have kept George Springer, though. Even though he was dealing with some injuries, he was killing it when he was on the field with the Blue Jays. So they should have held on to him, and I think that would make this an easier matchup for the Astros. But then you still have Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, and of course Jose Altuve, who's had an unbelievable year. But again, like the White Sox, they have Luis Robert, they have Eloy Jimenez, you have Jose Abreu, you have Tim Anderson. That's a good. Well, and then of course Yasmani Grandal as well, like behind the plate. Like that's a killer offense in my opinion. Like I don't think it gets much better than that. And then of course you have like the GOAT manager in my opinion, Tony La Russa. Like he's in playoffs, so he's about to go full throttle, show how he's a Hall of Famer. And I think the White Sox will win this series. It could be close. They're the underdogs for this series, and I'm like, wow, okay. So I would definitely bet on the White Sox. Like the Astros, like they're a good team and they're well managed. I just don't think they have as much like offensive firepower, and I think they have worse pitching than the White Sox. And the White Sox, I believe, have home field advantage in this series, so they'll get more games at home. And again, it comes down to that main pitching rotation. Like Lance Lynn hasn't been fantastic as of late, but I think he should be able to go out there with some nice stuff. Lucas Giolito, I think, is an absolute monster. He's one of the best young pitchers in the league. So I think that should work out. I think the White Sox should win. Now, we have 2 other matchups for the NLDS that are undetermined yet, of course. But let's say it's the Giants versus the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals win that series if the Cardinals beat the Dodgers tomorrow. Because like the Giants have a good offense, but they're dealing with some injuries. Like Chris Bryant's great. Brandon Crawford's he's slowed down. I believe he's hurt. I could be wrong. And then Logan Webb's been a great pitcher. But outside of that, I don't think they have much for pitching arms. Like they have some good guys, but they usually blow up. Or they can have a fantastic game. But then the Cardinals, I think, have a more solid like pitching rotation that's like able to get some innings of work in. And then the offense, I believe, is better overall and defensively better as well. But if the Dodgers beat the Cardinals, I think it's the same way. I think the Dodgers would whoop the Giants as well. Like the Giants have been they have the best record in baseball this whole year, right? And it's hard. You know, like it's hard to say that the Giants are going to lose in the NLDS when they've been the best team in baseball. But I think these other teams are just better teams. Like the Dodgers or Cardinals, I think can beat the Giants. Like so, that's who I would bet on is whoever wins the wild card game on Wednesday, October 6th. So in my pick, it would be the Dodgers or the Cardinals would beat or play the Braves, and I think either team would beat the Braves too. So I say whoever wins the wild card game on Wednesday is making it to the World Series. Like that's what I think is going to happen. Now for the AL. So now based on the Red Sox and Yankees game, they will go up against the Tampa Bay Rays, right? Rays somehow just kick some ass, man. Like their pitching rotation is honestly not even that solid. Like even with Tyler Glass now out, but they have a fantastic bullpen. That's what keeps them in games. And like they have like a lot of young studs on their team, like Wander Franco and Randy Rosarena. Brandon Lyle's really good. Like they just have and they traded for Nelson Cruz, who's obviously a monster, even though he's old as dirt, you know. Now I think the Rays, it's just hard. The Rays should be able to beat the Yankees or the Red Sox, in my opinion, but that's just a harder series to determine. I just don't know. So I would say the Rays make it to the NLCS, but I say no matter what, who wins out of the ALDS, so Rays or Yankees or Red Sox based on the wild card, will lose to the winner of the other side of the ALDS, so either the Astros or White Sox. Now I picked the White Sox, so I think the White Sox will make it to the World Series. So I think my final World Series prediction will be, so I have two, it'll be a mixture of these four teams no matter what I say make it to the World Series. I think it'll either be the Dodgers versus the White Sox, the Cardinals versus the White Sox, or the Cardinals versus the Astros, or the Dodgers versus the Astros. And that'd be cool. There's a lot of cool stories there. I think the worst story there would be the Dodgers versus the White Sox. Even though those are the two teams I'd say start of the season, everyone's like, oh, they're making playoffs, right? Or they're possibly going to win the World Series, one of those teams. So that's fine. It's a little bit predictable, but that's okay. People say the Yankees or Dodgers, like if the Yankees make it all the way, a Yankees-Dodgers championship is not what I want, but it would make some headlines. It'd be cool to see. Like, these are two of the most stacked teams in baseball, but that's not really what I want to see. Now, Cardinals-White Sox would be an awesome story, because then it's the Cardinals going for number 12 up against their old manager who won them their last World Series in 2011. So that'd be dope to see. And then finally, I think Dodgers versus Astros would be a cool rematch, specifically since the Dodgers lost to the Astros, and that was the whole scandal with the Astros going on when they cheated, right, with the trash can banging. So that'd be fun. I'd be cool with that World Series. Now, of course, like literally, the Red Sox could make it all the way. Like I think it's a pretty solid playoffs for baseball. Like anything I think can happen, but I think, to me, the best odds of making it are the Dodgers, Cardinals, White Sox, or Astros. And again, to me, I think the matchup I want to see the most are either Dodgers and the Astros or the White Sox and the Cardinals. Because I think that those are two good stories for baseball. All right, guys, those are my picks for the MLB playoffs. I think we're going to have a killer playoff season. And I think World Series is going to be nuts this year, okay? No matter who makes it, because there's a lot of good teams. All right. So I hope I'm right, and I hope I can win y'all some money somehow, and I'll see y'all for the football picks coming at you soon. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. I want to know who your World Series picks are. All right, catch y'all later.